Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and yep, we're going to talk about it. As you know, while this is not a wrestling content channel, whenever there's big wrestling news, I promised I would talk about it. Because I'm in the wrestling sphere, right? I like wrestling, I've wrestled, etc. And this news, whatever you want to call it, broke overnight. Well, maybe yesterday, maybe not overnight. The point is, the last 24 or so hours have been a wild ride on social media. Because I'm going to break it down, but the short version is Tony Khan basically almost bid to buy anyway, the WWE back in 2023. So, to go all the way back to 2023, Vince McMahon abused his power and said, I'm not going to let you sell the WWE unless I'm there. And, of course, here you fast forward 3 years and they're TKO now with the UFC and a bunch of other crap. But that was Endeavor that made the final bid. There's currently some sort of lawsuit going on that I'm not going to get into. I don't know the legalities. I don't know what the hell's going on. It has something to do with people thinking that the Endeavor takeover by purchase was predetermined because Vince was under the impression that they would keep him in power. Of course, it didn't happen. He had to resign in disgrace because he is a disgrace. But we'll never know that for sure unless it comes out in the courts, whatever. Point is, when this was going down, no one really knew anything else other than that there were people trying to buy WWE and then Endeavor bought it. And recently, as of I guess yesterday, the court documents were unredacted. And this included all the bids that were made for the company back in 2023. I think they're trying to compare and contrast and look at everything so Endeavor and the people on the other side of this case can prove that wasn't the case. And of those companies were, of course, Endeavor. There was KKR, I think was their name. They're like a financing, publishing company or something. This company called Liberty Inc., which no is not Liberty Mutual. They own F1, so Formula Racing. Imagine the Undertaker behind that F1 car. And, Base 10. Sorry, I lost the name for a second. And Base 10 was owned by Tony Khan. Base 10 is the parent company above AEW. AEW is a wrestling promotion ran by Tony Khan, but his parent company is called Base 10. So that's pretty wild. Now, they had the lowball offer, I suppose. What would you like to know what the lowball offer was? The lowest offer that Vince McMahon and company received for the purchase of WWE was $6.9 billion. That is absolutely insane. For context, right? I'm going to take you all the way back to 2000. In 2000 or maybe 1999, I can't remember for sure, when WCW was up for sale, they were asking for, and the price that was pitched to everyone was $40 million. In 2001, when Vince McMahon purchased WCW, he purchased it for $4 million. Vince McMahon purchased WCW for 10 times less what it was worth a year beforehand. And now 22, 23, because this happened 3 years ago. Years later, his company, the minimum bid they got was nearly $7 billion. Do that math for me. And in case you're curious, you can look all this up, but I'll go ahead and let you know. The other two companies were bidding anywhere between 8 to 8.7 billion. I think Liberty had the highest. I think they were bidding up to 8.7 billion. But Endeavor won at 8.5, which, I guess it does kind of lend itself to the argument, well, why wouldn't you have the company that was offering the most? Why wouldn't you take the most? Why would you just take Endeavor's offer? That's an argument for another day. It's not why we're here, but I am just informing you on what is going on. So obviously this has been a talk of the town all the last 24 hours on Twitter, a little bit on Facebook, but not so much. I hate being on Twitter, but that's where all this stuff comes out first. It's very rarely on any other socials first. Maybe Instagram from time to time, which I also have that. One day I'll get all of my socials on, like at the end of my videos or something, so you guys can follow me and watch me say nothing most of the time. But this has, of course, opened the conversation of what if, right? Let's just say, for some reason or another, Tony Khan and Base 10 managed to purchase WWE, what would the wrestling world look like? And I really wanted to think about this. I wanted to get other people's thoughts. I wanted to read comments, not the stupid or mean comments, like the people all talking about drugs or how Tony Khan ruined wrestling. Some idiot that people are really going after who was like, yeah, oh, you should run around with daddy's money. That's how families work. If your family has a lot of money, then usually the patriarch or the matriarch is where most of the money stays. And then the children use the money. And then when the matriarch or patriarch retires or passes away, the child gets the money. But they also get to use it while the father or mother are still alive. I swear, there's a contingent of wrestling fans that never made it past middle school and now think they know everything about wrestling. I'm going on a rant. I'm going to try not to do that right now. The point is, the good discourse is the one I was curious about. And the big thing I've seen, and I do agree with it, is it would have been terrible. Not because I don't like Tony Khan. I think Tony Khan is great. He's a proper pro wrestling fan. He's not like within the business and then like he didn't wrestle or whatever. He's just a big fan. So he tries to make wrestling for the fans of AEW. I don't want to say for wrestling fans because some WWE Fed boy is going to come and try to punch me in the face. They're going to miss because of worked punches. But what happens is if Tony Khan purchased WWE, then we're kind of back to square one. Because from 2001 until 2019, we had 18 years where there was no other major promotion that was competition to the WWE. Yeah, New Japan still existed, and TNA started, I think, in 2002. I didn't find out about 2004, but that's not the point. And there's always independent promotions. And Ring of Honor's been around forever as well. And I'm not ignoring those promotions. I did at one point because I was, again, WWE was the only thing I knew. I knew about TNA. Another conversation for another day. But for 18 years, there was no competition. It was just, here's WWE at the top of the list. And then if you like jumped down to the bottom of the list, started digging and dug for about 10 years, then you started finding all the competition. And again, that's no slight on TNA, Ring of Honor, or New Japan. It's just how the world saw wrestling, right? Everyone was like, WWE's the big boys in town. They're the big dogs. Roman Reigns, we the ones. No, that's acknowledge your tribal chief. We the ones is the Usos. But that's how it was pitched, is that WWE was it. That's it. We're done. Move on. There is no other company, even though there was plenty of companies. In 2019, well, really in 2018, with the announcement of AEW, everyone went, okay, we got two companies now. And look at where wrestling's gone in the last 7 years. You don't have to like AEW. You don't have to like Tony Khan. Again, you're a psychopath and probably actually a little bit stupid if you say all this nonsense online about him. But because of AEW, we have two companies. And now wrestlers can jump back and forth. And it's a major company. Is it competition? Arguable, right? Again, some Fed boy's going to come try to do a Sweet Chin Music and miss by 1.5 miles. But there are times when Dynamite gets close. There are times when pay-per-views from AEW do a little better than pay-per-views from WWE. Just a little. Again, there's people on both sides. I'm not trying to just insult WWE fans, by the way. There's AEW fans out there that are absolute nightmares that sit there and call Triple H and WWE a bunch of ignorant names and go, oh, you got some big pay-per-view? Good thing Collision's on. No one cares that you're watching Collision. Just go watch Collision. Just go do it. I'm getting off track again. Point is, for the last 7 years, we have had big moments. We've had big jumps, big returns. The Cody Rhodes thing was insane. People going here, there, and everywhere. The Andrade situation. Counter-programming. Tony Khan's WCW promo. I don't know if you guys remember that when Tony Khan started working with New Japan. He cut that promo. I think it was just on social media where he said, the person working with New Japan is a Khan, but it's me, Tony Khan. And it was funny, which he couldn't have done the same thing if they bought WWE. But if Tony were to have purchased, Base 10 were to have purchased WWE, we'd be right back into a monopoly. He would have had to keep certain wrestlers or certain management, money men, whatever you want to call them, in power. Like, he couldn't just buy WWE and fire everybody because there's no way he could run all that. He's got AEW, he's got Ring of Honor, he's got the Jackson Jaguars. I think he has Fulham, which is a soccer team. And then I think he has another financial company or whatever. Basically, Tony Khan has a lot, right? And his dad has a lot, and that family has a lot of money. So he would have to delegate that to someone else. There's a chance, right? There's a chance. And this is what ran through my brain. That if Tony Khan and Base 10 and the Khan family had purchased WWE 3 years ago, that maybe nothing would have actually changed. Like maybe he would have kept Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and those people in charge of creative and the talent relations people is what I was trying to get at, would have all had to stay the same in WWE. But because Tony Khan and Base 10 would have owned this property, there is a chance there had been some weird crossovers. I'm not saying like an invasion angle, but maybe they would try to make one company too much like the other, and you never want that. I like that AEW and WWE and TNA and Ring of Honor, New Japan, Nuge, as Andy Murray calls it, are all completely different entities. You can't help but copy each other from time to time. That's always going to happen. Wrestling is cyclical at best. Excuse me. So I just don't think it would have worked, right? Because at some point, if one entity owns both of the major companies, it's going to eventually do this thing, right? I'm not saying one's higher or lower than the other. I'm just using my hands as an example. If AEW is somewhere over here and WWE somewhere over here, and we're both doing our own thing and we're having a good time, but they are owned by the same person, eventually they're going to do this. They're going to touch tips. I said it. They're going to eventually cross over and start doing too much stuff that is similar, because Tony Khan, the people running stuff, are going to go, well, I own it all, so why don't I do this, that, and the other? And we probably would have had some sort of invasion angle, which would be cool. I grant you. The whole wrestling world wants to see Seth Rollins versus Will Ospreay, except that small contingent of people that didn't get out of middle school, or they dropped out of middle school. That's a match that people have been vying for years, but neither one of those guys are going to jump ship, maybe ever. So that the only way we would have gotten a match like that is by this. But I do think, while TKO isn't the best thing to ever happen to WWE, I do think it's a good thing that it didn't happen. But I think it's fun to sit here and talk about it. Because, I mean, imagine we did get the proper crossover. Because remember when Vince McMahon, the worst, bought WCW, he didn't get any of the big stars because they were worried about what Vince McMahon may do to them. And they were making good money with their Warner Bros. Well, okay, between that and their Time Warner contracts, Time Warner was still paying people like Goldberg and Sting and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan really big money contracts. And Vince McMahon and WWF at the time refused to pay them that much. So they went, okay, I'll just run up my contract and go do something else. Go work on the independents. Go work for another company. TNA existed. By the way, I love Joker Sting. One of my favorite Stings. But, so, that was Vince McMahon. That's how Vince did it. And if you were around for the invasion, you know it was garbage. All it was a bunch of current WWF wrestlers that used to work for ECW and WCW turning their backs on the company and then having this big invasion that lasted 6 months. And it all ended with WWF just kind of winning. And it features that match, never mind, the tag team match with the Brothers of Destruction against, I think, Chris Kanyon and DDP. Look at me in the eyes. Don't ever watch that match. It is an absolute farce. It's an absolute destruction of two of the best wrestlers in the world. And Vince McMahon made DDP a stalker. Point is, I'm again off track. Point is, all these years later, I think Tony Khan would have learned from that, and would have, if he would have done some sort of crossover angle between the two companies, he would have made it work. We would have gotten like Seth Rollins versus Will Ospreay. I saw this hilarious post, and I've seen it in a couple videos where someone was like, if Tony Khan had purchased WWE, would there have been some sort of fun storyline where he could have been like, hey, Cody, remember you can never challenge for a world title again? It probably would have been specifically the AEW title. And that's what I mean. It starts getting muddy. And people, unfairly in my opinion, already give Tony Khan crap for trying to run two wrestling companies. Technically, AEW and Ring of Honor. Whereas here, he'd have to run Dynamite, Collision, Ring of Honor, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and all of the pay-per-views. And WWE has a bunch of small things, too. I think they still have Main Event, and they still have Evolve. I don't think Speed is a thing anymore. I know the Speed title is, but I don't think Speed as a show still exists. I think that was an experiment. It didn't go well because it only aired on Twitter. But imagine one man running all of that, right? Somebody, again, some moron is going to go, well, Vince McMahon ran Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views. That's all he did. Compared, that's a lot. That is a lot. Compared to what would have happened if Base 10 had purchased WWE, it would have been nothing. So, personally, am I happy with TKO? Sometimes. I would say that the new version of WWE gives us more than the latter years of Vince McMahon, for absolute sure. Remember when Roman Reigns had dog food poured on him? And the last thing Toni Storm did was have pie thrown in her face and the Hell in a Cell between Seth Rollins and The Fiend. I don't mean to bubble or to boil everyone's blood. Bubble your blood? To boil everyone's blood. But the point is, we were in dire straits in 2019. We are much better off now. And I think that Base 10 and Tony Khan purchasing WWE would have been a huge mistake, because the whole problem for 18 years was that it was a monopoly. Now, wrestlers can go wherever they want. They can jump ship. They can go wrestle their friends. They can go see people they haven't seen in ages. They can travel the world. And I think we're better off where we are now. But I also think that it would have been silly for me not to come on here and talk about it for a little while. Honestly, I thought the video was going to be longer than this, but it won't be. So thank you everybody so much for watching. And of course, leave a comment down below what you think about this. I was shocked. I thought it was a made-up, fake story until I started reading more and more into it. Do you actually think it would have been a good idea? If you do, explain why. Do you agree with me? Are you an angry Fed boy that's going to try to hit me with a tombstone? I got to quit saying that stuff. Again, wrestling fans overall are cool. There are bad fans in every single fandom, especially wrestling. So if you like WWE and you don't like AEW, that's fine. If you hate AEW, that's fine. Like what you like. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just having fun. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as well. Just trying to get back to videos on here a little more often. And I guess that's it for now. So until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. I'm very happy with the overall state of wrestling. And I'll see you in the next one.